gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades. This is Kenya Revolutionary for another chat, another quick one. I will not hold you up for a long time. I'll be here for briefly. Today I mean it. I know I usually say that I'll be here for a short time, then I end up spending more than an hour here. So, but today really I might even spend 30 minutes max. But regardless, I just want to speak about some few things that we've seen today on the news. Before I get started, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, if you're joining me for the first time, again, my name is Kenya Revolutionary. I bring you Kenyan politics, or should I say Kenyan politricks. And also here in this channel, we discuss world news, world events, as it relates to Kenya, of course, but mainly it's about Kenyan politics and the event that surrounds it. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, do all the good stuff. But if you don't know, now you know. The first order of business is do what? Like the video. The first order of the video. The first order of the video. The first order of the first order of business is to like the video. You know how I'm so incoherent today because I didn't plan this talk. I didn't even plan to go live, but I just have to speak about what's going on, okay? Now, very quickly, we should speak about three main topics that are not really, I'm not going to go deeper because there's nothing really to dig into them. But again, let me remind you, if you're going to watch this video on repeat, please do the same. The first order will be to like the video and also subscribe if you haven't subscribed, share, like, comment in your whole political WhatsApp groups and social media and all that good stuff, okay? So do that, do me that favor, okay? Now, like I say, the three topics which I'll just briefly go over is one, I want to speak about Maraga. I was asked, and a question by a journalist that, hey, they asked him that, listen, they told him Gen Z have really brought up your name as someone who they might endorse for 2027 presidential election. And Maraga said that he will consider that. And it seems more likely than not because his answer was, just to paraphrase what he said, it was, he's been the head of one arm of government, which was the judiciary. If you remember, he was, I would argue, the best Chief Justice of Kenya we have ever had in Kenya, who tried to do his best, okay, when he nullified that Uhuru's so-called victory. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, he was threatened into accepting the coronation that took place in October 26th, 2017, okay, after Justice Mweta's bodyguard was shot dead before the ruling the next day. I will just touch on that a little bit. But also, since the rumors have been swirling around that Maraga may run in 2027, you know, Matiang'i, his fellow, you know, tribesmen, like I told you, Kenya, you remember I told you that Kenya, in every community, there's always a vehicle, which is the political vehicle of the community, which is the political party, so to speak, which represent the people, the local community. Okay, then the perceived leader of the community, who more than likely is the leader or is a member of that political party. So we have Maraga, sorry, not Maraga, but Matiang'i, okay? A man who worked under Uhuru Kenyatta as the internal security, whatever the case is, okay? And we remember how brutal he was in his, approach when he was dealing with the people who were protesting the blatant disregard of the law by Uhuru Kenyatta when Uhuru Kenyatta declared himself basically the president of Kenya. And we know the history when people poured to the streets and actually decided to, you know, swear in their own presidents of choice, who was Raila Odinga. Remember that. And Matiang'i was tasked with this whole, you know, quelling the streets or bringing peace in the streets. And we know how many people died, the baby Pendo, baby Mora, and the hundreds, if not thousands, of youth that were brutally shot down and killed, only for Raila Odinga to later on join in with Uhuru Kenyatta in a handshake government. I will talk about that, but we are going to touch on Maraga, as I said, his pronouncements, what he said. Then we shall also, a very funny thing. You remember yesterday when I talked to you about the death of Elachi's son, Beatrice Elachi? I told you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, that, it's not usually wise to, celebrate the death of a person, okay? Even if it's your worst enemies. I think the Bible, the book of Proverbs somewhere, the Bible says that, never celebrate when your enemy is going through some tough stuff, tough, times, okay? Or if they're suffering or whatever the case is, it's not the best time to, it's not wise to celebrate when somebody is down, okay? So, yeah, this guy, I guess his name is Jumuiyan, I think, Jumuiya. I saw this on Hanifa's page, where she basically was in shock when she heard that Captain Jumuiyan, I think that's what's his name, passed away last night. So the significance of this is this. Now, you might be asking, who's Captain Jumuiyan? I personally don't know who he is. I'm guessing that he was one of those, activists, young folks who are, very speaking against Kasongo and all this regime that's, very active online, or even in Kenya, just in the, activist circle. That's my guess. If you know more than that, please tell me on the comment section, or if you're going to join me on the chat, please explain to me who Jumuiyan is. But what is significant about his death is, he posted on X yesterday or the day before that, the day that reports on X, on internet, that Beatrice Elachi's son passed away, and he was one of those guys who made a comment and say that sherehe itakuwa katika, they'll go eat or they celebrate at Beatrice Elachi's son funeral, okay? So, literally 24 hours after he posted that, it was also reported that he died. Now, I do not know if he was killed. There's rumors out there that he might have been killed. Nobody knows who actually killed him or what happened to him, how he ended up dead. I haven't really done my research on that, but a lot of people are speculating that maybe Beatrice Elachi or someone close to Beatrice Elachi or Beatrice Elachi supporters, or someone who just did not like what he said about Beatrice Elachi, alifanya hiyo kitu, okay? Because there's no way, literally 24 hours after him saying what he said about Beatrice Elachi's son, or Beatrice Elachi's son, death of Beatrice Elachi's son, after he said that, they'll go to celebrate, they'll celebrate and go eat at Beatrice Elachi's son's funeral. 24 hours later, the young man ends up dead, okay? So, again, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, as much as there are people who I do not like, I do not fancy in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a politician or in my personal life, something like death is irreversible, okay? Once you're gone, you're gone. There's no coming back from that. Famous words from Biggie Smalls, for those of you who are old enough to listen to hip-hop in the 90s, okay? He said when Tupac died, he was like, you know what? Once somebody dies, there's no coming back from that. So, again, it's not wise to celebrate when somebody's die and say it's karma, whatever. Even if it's karma, let it be what it is, okay? Everyone shall check out. Every one of us will have a checkout date. So never celebrate the death of somebody else. But if you choose to do so, that's your own. That's just you. Personally, that's my take on that, okay? Then BaBu Owino also came out and spoke. I didn't listen to the speech because majority of these press conferences by these people, they're just a bunch of nothing. It's the same. Everybody will talk about Ruto, how Ruto is messing up, but you know the drill, okay? But what's interesting, what really caught my eye was the fact that BaBu Owino was talking about Kenya Kwanza trying to choreograph or bring up some evidence through the EACC on allegations of corruption, You know, they want to bring some corruption charges against BaBu Owino. According to him, he says it's designed to actually take him out of 2027 race, something like that, to basically try to scuttle his plans for 2027, probably gubernatorial race. As you know, guys, we know now that Sakaja always gives the Ayatollah of Opoda 200 million, I think, per month that Baba gets from Sakaja. Sakaja, who's very unpopular in Nairobi and very incompetent and very corrupt and have failed flat as the governor of Nairobi. And a lot of people really want to see Sakaja gone. And whoever is going to, you know, challenge him on that seat will probably beat Sakaja. So that's why you see Gachagua was, when he was making his speech, he was making it very clear that anyone, you know, anyone that can prop up there, even if it's somebody from Rema, will probably defeat Sakaja. Okay, because Sakaja is very unpopular. But one thing I want to say about this Sakaja and BaBu Owino thing, I said it and I made a video before. I think it's been a year now when I made a video about Sakaja and BaBu Owino. And by the way, BaBu Owino follows me on X, so shout out to BaBu Owino, even though I'm not a fan of you, okay? But this is what I'll say about BaBu Owino, okay? I said it then, I'll say it now again. I say this: BaBu Owino, the odds are stacked against you. There's so much, okay? I know he can celebrate the fact that you know, he can celebrate not celebrate the fact that he can enjoy the fact that he's relatively right now, Nairobi is very, in my opinion, and if you're in Nairobi, please, you can help me with this. But generally speaking, I think Nairobi is very divided, okay? There's the lawyer faction who probably will stick with Sakaja, okay? I mean, this is downright tribal or whatever the case. Or if Tim Wanyonyi steps up, then it will be time for Tim Wanyonyi to be voted in, okay? Because I think a lot of people feel like Tim Wanyonyi didn't get his due. Remember last time Raila Odinga had a negotiation with who? With Uhuru. And they decided that Tim Wanyonyi, you know, they asked Tim Wanyonyi to step down so that Sakaja can be propped up as not Sakaja, so that, what's the name? That young guy who ran against Sakaja was to be propped up in Nairobi to run against Sakaja, okay? So Tim Wanyonyi, you know, and remember, Raila even apologized to Tim Wanyonyi and said, next time you're going to, you know, we are sorry, we ask you to step down for the, you know, gubernatorial seat so that Nani, the young man, ran against Sakaja. But Raila being Raila, you know, Sakaja knows he's unpopular. Sakaja, you know, he has the money that he has stolen from Ninio. He's buying houses in South Africa, in LA, you know, US, California, somewhere else, all over the world, okay? So Sakaja knows the trick. He knows he knows the way how to sway Raila Odinga to come to his corner or rescue. So, you know, he dropped the bag, 200 mil, I guess, according to reports, that he has to deliver every month to Raila Odinga so that he can be on his good grace. And we saw just a few weeks before the AU thing happened, Raila Odinga basically endorsed Sakaja, someone who is not even part of ODM, but he basically endorsed Sakaja, and he was wearing, you know, the ODM colors and all this stuff, and you know, and ever since Sakaja has been really, he's the Caswell of Caswell. He's like Caswell now. Everywhere Baba goes, you see Sakaja on his side. So it is a clear indication that Raila Odinga doesn't fancy BaBu Owino in any way, shape, or form. So there could be some truth to what BaBu Owino is saying. Maybe Raila Odinga is doing what's, you know, Raila Odinga probably met with Ruto, and they conjured up a plan to use the EACC to level up some charges against BaBu Owino in order to, finish him politically, basically just derail his plans for 2027. Okay, like I said, karibu sana Gypsy Corner, nice seeing you. I'm glad to see you again. First order of business is to like the video, please do that. Thank you so much for coming in. So like I said, BaBu Owino has he has a huge task ahead of him if he's going to run for the gubernatorial seat in 2027. My advice for BaBu Owino, I've always maintained, he's better off just sticking to the Embakasi East, whatever the case is. Just re-election, seek re-election as an MP. You are pretty much good with your people. Your people still like you, and yeah, you can always win that seat fairly and squarely because people still like you. Okay, I know what's his name will be challenging you. That guy who was a truck driver who came from US and just came there. What's his name? I forget. Cosmoy Choi, whatever Choi, Cosmoy Choi. I don't think he will beat you, Nani. But like I say, I always say the odds are stacked against BaBu Owino. He's better off if he remains as the Embakasi East whatever MP rather than running for the gubernatorial seat, because that seat already ushachengwa. Raila Odinga doesn't fancy you because, again, Raila doesn't like BaBu because Raila wants to maintain the support, the popularity he enjoys within the Luo community. Okay, he doesn't want that to. He cannot lose that. Okay, that's his bread and butter. If he loses that, Raila is not Raila. Okay, and BaBu is the closest thing from that area that enjoys wide support. Okay, and you know what Mpenda like that. He brings that energy. But now that Raila Odinga knows that BaBu is a threat, of course, Raila has his own henchmen, okay, in the Rift Valley, not Rift Valley, in Nyanza province, okay? He has his closest politicians, the Anyang' Nyong'os, the Mbadis, his brother Oburu Odinga. Karibu sana Katende. Nice seeing you, brother. The first order of business. Nice seeing you. So the old folks from ODM party want to make sure that BaBu Owino is contained. He is limited. His popularity does not exceed or threaten Raila's influence. I saw a video of Raila Odinga today walking. I think he was somewhere in Central or somewhere. I don't know where it was. But Raila Odinga is old, okay? He's old. There's no running away from that. Nature is taking its course. Raila Odinga will probably not be active in politics in the next 5 years. He will probably have to, hang up his political boots and hang up his jersey, because he is visibly, you can see physically, walking is becoming a problem like he was walking, and it's like a struggle now, okay? So his time is up. But Raila being Raila, these Kenyan politicians don't know when to quit. They want to die being, they cannot live without just Sifa wako nayo. And I mean, if you look at him, it's not only Raila. I mean, Moi, if it wasn't for 2002 people coming together and removing Moi could have probably died in his presidency as a president. Okay, if it wasn't for Kenyatta or Jomo Kenyatta, dying because of, I don't know, short illness, whatever the case killed him, okay, or just natural causes, Kenyatta would have stayed till, forever. Just like, it's a problem in the African culture. We do not know how to quit, when to quit. Only Julius Nyerere and Mandela and a few others, knew that, at some point you have to pass the baton to the younger generation, to the next generation, okay? Okay, you've always had people say, Raila should groom somebody. It's not about grooming somebody. I think it is all about just know when to quit, okay? You don't have to be the leader of ODM forever, okay? And that's why I'm mentioning the fact that today I saw this video of Raila Odinga walking, and you can see that physically, age is taking a toll, is taking its course, and even walking is a problem for Raila Odinga. Very soon he will be on a wheelchair. Okay. Okay. You use your free 1 month perks. I bought on BBM to celebrate my 7 months membership. You are the chosen free. You're the chosen free. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't even know how to use those things. I'll try to figure out. Okay. But thank you for the heads up. I will do that as soon as I finish this live. Okay. So thank you so much for that reminder, Gypsy. You've been a stalwart supporter of this channel and other business channels and other channels. Thank you so much. So yeah. So like I said, BaBu Owino's rise and popularity in Nyanza or with the Luo community is actually a threat to Raila Odinga, okay? And that's what's going to contribute to his undoing. I've been saying this, that someone like Sifuna and BaBu Owino, I think I know they want to maintain their seats and maintain their position as one as the Secretary General of the whatever ODM. And BaBu Owino, I think his biggest worry is if he leaves ODM and joins another party, he will probably lose the supporting joys in Luo Nyanza, okay? So I think that's what. But in my opinion, I think you have to, at some point, mpaka mtoto kijana mpaka he has to move out of their baba's house, okay? Ukifika miaka fulani, as a young man, you have to move out of your mom and dad's place and charter your own neo. Don't wait for somebody to hold your hands, okay? Especially for somebody like BaBu Owino, if you know that Raila Odinga doesn't like you for whatever reason, whatever reason, don't stay there. Go find your own, chart your own lineal cause, okay? But we have to also understand that BaBu Owino, he's only there because he has to rub shoulders with these very guys because he knows he has a case that he should be in jail for right now. But if it wasn't for him, his connection with Raila Odinga and the Kenyatas and all these politicians that are in power, he would be in jail right now. And so for him to leave ODM and if he goes against Raila Odinga or somebody else, he can find himself in prison. Remember, let me remind you very quickly while you're on this BaBu Owino story. Remember when after the election, I think it was 2017, that's when BaBu Owino came with this phrase that we now use, the long con game. He came out and spoke about, he was really attacking Uhuru Kenyatta. If you guys don't remember, BaBu Owino was really out there attacking Uhuru Kenyatta. And I remember there's one time they actually detained him when he was coming from Mombasa or something like that. Or detained in Mombasa or detained somewhere in Nairobi coming from Mombasa. Okay? And once he was detained, Uhuru Kenyatta's administration brought up again a new charge that was related to the shooting of DJ, what's that DJ? DJ somebody. The DJ that he shot on camera, okay? So they opened that case. And once they opened that case, BaBu Owino really stopped his attack on Kenyatta. He went quiet. He was very, very quiet for a long time. And the handshake happened, and BaBu Owino has never really spoken against the Kenyatas since then, okay? So that's how these politicians are kind of controlled. If they have dirt on you, they will keep that and use it for you to do whatever thing they want you to do, okay? They wanna make sure wanna blackmail. Kama umejua ulifanya kitu, uliua mtu, ama ulifanya uko na kesi ya corruption or whatever the case is, they will use that to control you so that you don't leave the ODM party, or you don't speak against Raila Odinga, or you don't speak about the Kenyatas, or you don't speak against Ruto, or you don't speak about Gachagua. Whatever the case is, they use that to blackmail you. So you have no choice. Because evidently you can see BaBu Owino is done with ODM. He's done with Raila Odinga. He's done. But instead of saying it directly that, hey, listen, I'm done with Raila Odinga's shenanigans, he cannot, because he understands that it was probably Raila Odinga who had a negotiation with Kenyatta in order for BaBu Owino to enjoy his freedom that he's enjoying today, because he should be in Kodiaga right now serving time for attempted murder. We all know that. It's not a secret, okay? So that's how they're playing these games, all right? And that's why you see some of these guys, they are really... Remember Otiende Amolo, the same thing with Otiende Amolo, who tried to go against the ODM, and, you know, he almost lost his seat or whatever the case. They wanted to kick him out. So these guys are really, really, you know, they're not self-made. They're not self-made. BaBu Owino has been castigated and walking on Raila's shadow. Right now, he doesn't look himself. He will never leave ODM. I think he wants to be pushed. Yeah, maybe he wants to be pushed. But like I say, I think BaBu Owino, if he dare leaves, I know in his heart he wants to leave ODM because he can see all the nonsense that's going on in ODM. He knows the game. He knows the games that they play. But he cannot, because if he leaves ODM, realistically, if BaBu Owino was to leave ODM now, I think within 3 months, not only his political life will end, but his freedom will be also gone. You see how they are dealing with Waititu. You see how Ferdinand Waititu are in your prison. Why are they going after Ferdinand Waititu? Ferdinand Waititu and Mike Sonko and all these shady characters. You know, these guys were at one time, they were supporting Ruto, okay, right? They were supporting Ruto. When they were supporting Ruto, the government had no problems with their corruption cases. They walikuwa naenda kotini, and every time wanaenda kotini unasikia kesi yao imeninio. There's no enough evidence. The famous line by the courts. There's no enough evidence. There's no enough evidence. There's no enough evidence. Wakienda kotini, there's no enough evidence. There's no enough evidence, okay? But as soon as Ferdinand Waititu started joining Gachagua and speaking against Ruto, all the cases were opened again, okay? So that's how they play. They use every trick in the book, okay? Especially if you're corrupt. That's why you see all this corrupt. Some of these corrupt people, they're trying to get out of their corrupt ways, but they cannot, because the evidence is there. We know our Maninio, our kina Ruto, our kina Raila, our kina Kenyatta, they have the evidence of their corrupt cases. So if they dare not toe the line, watashikwa. And that's what's happening with BaBu Owino. That's why he looks like Gypsy Corner has said rightfully that is right. That BaBu Owino doesn't seem himself. You can see he wants to leave ODM, but he cannot. He understands the implication of leaving ODM and going against Raila Odinga. That's why even if he, BaBu Owino, it's so funny. Every time you see people don't agree with Baba, they pretend that, oh, the people who are advising Baba are the ones who are misleading him. It's the people around him. They dare not say it directly that it's Raila Odinga, okay? And because it's Raila Odinga's decision. It's not all the people that are advising him. It's Raila Odinga, okay? So that's the same thing with BaBu Owino. And this ties in with what I wanted to say about Maraga. This ties in with what I wanted to say with Maraga. Now, could Maraga be a good president? Probably, yes. I think he can be a good president. Will he win the elections? Most likely not. Even though, you know, it will be a setup. If okay, let's review Maraga's, and I want to finish with this Maraga issue because I think it's the main one, for me at least. I want to talk about this Maraga issue. Maraga understands how the Kenyan corrupt system works. He does understand it. To me, I think he does not understand it fully, but he has a good idea of how it works. Let me explain what I mean. Let me take a sip of this wonderful pineapple juice. Let me explain what I mean. When Maraga was the head of the Supreme Court, he butted heads with Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the president at the time. From the get-go, with the elections, by the way, it wasn't just Uhuru Kenyatta, it was Uhuru Ruto. So Ruto was part of the people who are actually going against Maraga, who are really fighting these battles. Now, let me explain to you something. Let me explain to you how this works very quickly so you can get it. When Maraga made something that was historically in Africa, it has never been done, a Supreme Court decided to nullify an election, a presidential election, okay? And it wasn't nullified just because Maraga was bored and he just wanted to be an asshole towards Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. He did so based on the evidence, something that's unprecedented. I mean, the previous Supreme Court justice and the Supreme Court basically, what's his name? The guy who always hang out with Boniface Mwangi. I forgot his name. The one that has one star on his ear. I forgot his name. You know, he gave us a bullshit reason. Actually, on 2013, okay? He never gave reasons why they upheld Uhuru's victory in 2013. He came out, remember we waited for a couple of weeks, and he came out and told us that he's upholding the Uhuru's victory and he will give the reasons as to why later on. So later on he wrote his opinion. The Supreme Court justice, they conjured up, they wrote down the reasons as to why they arrived at that ruling, okay? Which is, again, unprecedented. Supreme Court justice, when they review the evidence, they hear the arguments, they prod, they usually go and sit down, and ideally, this is how it works. Every Supreme Court justice writes their opinion on the issue at hand and state it, whether they concur or they disagree with whatever the case is, whatever it is, whether they concur to agree with the plaintiff, whatever the case is, or they side with the defendant. Okay. So, what was unusual about this ruling, 2013 ruling, was that the Supreme Court, when it was time to make a ruling, a judgment, they came in and made a ruling without offering any opinion. We did not know what every single justice judge in that Supreme Court bench thought about the issue, how they decided how they arrived at that issue. They never issued that opinion. They just came out and said Uhuru's victory in 2013 is upheld, okay? Now, come 2017, all right? Maraga now is the Supreme Court justice, okay? Maraga did something that, everyone is proud of, every Kenyan is proud of, and that's how he made his name. He stood on principle, okay? He stood on principle. He examined the evidence, he heard the arguments, okay? And he wrote his opinion on the issue. Remember, this is not a singular decision by the by the Chief Justice. All other judges in that Supreme Court bench write their opinion, and they did write their opinion. And he explained why. You can go back on YouTube and hear him explain it, because he read it. It was like a 30-minute, maybe 25 minutes speech long. Okay, Karibu Critical Kaur, please like the video. That's the first order of business. So he did something that's unprecedented in Africa. A Supreme Court justice actually overrules an election. Okay. Now, after he did that, let me walk you through this. This is why I'm telling you, Maraga understands the system, but he doesn't fully understand it. Okay. So anyway, after the Supreme Court justice ruling nullifying that 2017 election, we understand. I will walk you through this since we are talking about Maraga, but I will be very brief. We all know that there were some recommendations. Remember recommendations? That's what? Recommendations that were to be taken before the next election, which was to be re-election, which was supposed to be happening in 90 days. Okay? These recommendations, part of it was the reconstitution of the IBC, meaning the team, the Chebukati team that was there, was supposed to all resign, and we have a new IBC to oversee the re-election of, 2017 elections, okay? Which was supposed to be happening in 90 days, all right, from the ruling. This never happened, and that's why Raila Odinga and his team, whatever the case is, sat out the election when it was time for re-election, because the recommendations by the Supreme Court was never respected, were never obeyed, okay? So Raila Odinga and the team said, you know what, you guys do not want to do what the Supreme Court recommended. We are not going to be part of this because this is already a skewed process, okay? And they sat out. And you remember, Uhuru Kenyatta went and ran against himself, okay? And declared himself on October 26th, on his birthday, and he said he was the president of Kenya. Now, we know what came after that, all right? But before the ruling, because remember folks, before, because there's somebody, it wasn't Raila's people, before the second announcement by the IBC declaring Uhuru Kenyatta as the president, in the second election, in the re-election that was happening in 2017, something happened the night before the Supreme Court ruling, okay? The night before the Supreme Court ruling, because remember, the coronation method, the IBC walienda voting ikafanyika tena after 90 days, every part of the country, majority of the places, even in Eldoret, people did not show up to vote. Remember, I remember this. I remember this like it was yesterday. There was the whole country, with the exception of Central and some parts of Rift Valley. The whole country said, we are sitting out, we are not going to vote. If anything, there's some places where the young people, folks who are out there in the polling station say, tukikuona ukienda kupiga kura, utajua wewe. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But what is significant about this is this. Another sip of video. Right before, because, okay, so the re-election happens, and somebody challenged the whole thing, because there are some people who are saying if a re-election was to happen, we can't just have Raila and Uhuru on the ballot, because if the Supreme Court says that there should be a re-election, that means every presidential candidate that was there in the beginning should also participate in the second re-election, okay? And also, there are people who are challenging the elections, the re-election itself, okay? So they went to the Supreme Court. And Uhuru Ruto were worried that Maraga was going to do what? Maraga was going to do the same thing and nullify it again. So on the eve of the ruling, the second ruling by the Supreme Court, something happened. If you remember, Justice, is it Mwita? She's the current deputy Supreme Court justice now. She's deputizing Koome's seat right now. She's the deputy chief justice today. But back then, right before the ruling by the Supreme Court, the night before the ruling, her bodyguard was shot to death. And Maraga, it is said that Maraga was threatened. He had death threats, okay? And if you remember, once the issue went to the courts, go look at that video. Maraga did not seem himself. He was reading, and you can see he was nervous. It was as if that, you could see he was shaking, even the way his lips were quivering when he was giving that second judgment. I'm not talking about the initial one where he nullified the election. I'm talking about the second one after Uhuru competed in the elections with himself, against himself, okay? Go look at Maraga's face on that Supreme Court ruling. Maraga looked very nervous. His lips were quivering. All the Supreme Court justices were so quiet. Then it came out, there was some news where wakina Lenaola and all those stuff, Juang, Nani, walipewa pesa, millions and millions. We know the deal, okay? So after that, what I'm trying to say is this. So from that point on, Maraga understood the powers that be in Kenya. Okay? It's not as simple as just people disobeying the law, people just, it is deeper than that. Okay? So when he was giving the answer today, if you go look at the clip when he said the problem in Kenya is corruption and all this, that, it's deeper than that. That's why I'm saying from that day on, Maraga understood how the system, the Kenyan system works. Okay? These arms of government are just there on paper, but they're the real, what we call the deep state. The government, the shadow government that we don't see, the people, the movers and shakers of Kenya, the ones that decide. When they decide Ruto must go, Ruto will have to go. Okay? If they want Ruto there, they will tolerate Ruto now. Okay? Those are the real shakers and movers of this video. So what I'm trying to say is this, that it is Maraga wants to run for president, but to me, I don't think he honestly believes that he can win the elections. Given the fact that he understands, he might have an understanding, a glimpse, a sketchy idea of how the deep state, the real powers work. For example, he mentioned corruption. He understands the composition of the IBC, how it's going to be reconstituted. We can see the Nyachais and all these recycled politicians who are going to preside over this election. They are going to be the people overseeing the whole process, okay? These are people who are Raila Ruto friendly. Do you honestly believe that he can win the elections with that kind of setup? Okay? So, to me, if you are to look at this realistically, Maraga might just, if he decides to run, he might be doing so in respect, for the respect he has for the so-called Gen Z. Okay? There's a constituency that really are calling for Maraga to run for presidency. So he might feel obligated or obliged to this call for him to run for presidency, but deep down his heart, he understands that to beat Ruto in this corrupt system is nearly impossible. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. But he wants to do so to respect the will of the Gen Zs. But we've already heard that Matiang'i, who is somebody from Kisii. Remember when I broke it down and I explained to you guys that how the Kenyan politics works, okay? Every community, they have a tribal chieftain, okay? The main tribal chieftain in Kisii is Matiang'i, okay? Of course, before Matiang'i, there was Nyachai. Nyachai departed, so now we have a bunch of people there. We have Matiang'i, who's I think Matiang'i is the big dog over there, okay? The only person who can really challenge Matiang'i is Maraga, okay? Because Maraga has a national outlook. Maraga has the national appeal, sorry. I know some of you might argue that, yes, Matiang'i also have a national appeal, but he does not. Matiang'i is only famous in Kisii and Mount Kenya within the Gachagua factor, the faction, Gachagua faction, okay? Who I don't think are everywhere. I don't see Matiang'i having a lot of support in the western region. I don't see Matiang'i having a lot of support in the coastal region. Nyanza is a no-go for Matiang'i. Just forget about it. Forget about Nyanza. Okay, Ukambani, maybe he might pick up a little bit if he join hands with Kalonzo. Okay, but if Maraga decides to run for presidency, for president, you know, he is, in my opinion, he is the more appealing candidate. You know, people look at him as somebody who did something heroic when he nullified that elections. They look at him as an honest man. So you can have people in the coast who might consider voting for Maraga. You know, you can have people in Nyanza, not a lot, but pretty much enough, who can vote for Maraga. There are people in the central, not a lot, but will consider voting for Maraga. You know, he has the national appeal. He's looked like they look at him as an honest man, not a politician. Okay, so Maraga's appeal has a better appeal, is more appealing than Matiang'i. See what I'm saying? But like I said, Maraga is not going to win the election. That is something that he probably understands. And if he decides to run, he will be doing so just to respect the wishes of the Gen Z, okay, the people who want him to run. That's how I look at it. Okay, so he understands the system to some extent. Probably not fully, but to some extent. So, again, I would have loved to see him call for the overhaul of the system, total overhaul, rather than try to work within this corrupt system. You cannot survive. If you're a clean person, you cannot survive in a corrupt system. That's what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. Okay? The Kenyan political system is so corrupt, you cannot survive in it if you're if you come in with clean hands. Utachafuka hata wewe. Utachafuka. You'll be compromised. So we have to clean house before we pave the way. We make you let these people who are coming in with clean hands operate as they're supposed to. You have to clean the house first. You can only thrive in a corrupt system if you are corrupt, because you have to make deals with these corrupt people. Because imagine if you go there, let's say Maraga, you know, I mean, forget even about winning. Even if he becomes MP, how are you going to operate? You know, anyway, that's a topic for another day. Anyway, I said I will be here briefly, so thank you guys for watching. I'll just stop here for now, but please do me a favor, like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next section. I'm out. My name is Kenyan Revolutionary. Shout out to Pritika BaBu. Shout out to Gypsy Corner, Katende, everybody else who came in and watched the video. Peace and blessings.